Cool. Welcome everybody to another episode of the Bhangra Podcast. This is Sid. I'm here with Bujin from Georgia Tech and Umer. And we are here to talk about Blowout this past year, which is 2022. So we're going to do just a quick recap. We have one of the judges and one of the team members. So I just want to talk about what the goal of this podcast is today. And the point of this podcast is not to blast Blowout. People are doing the best they can. All of us, every single person out there is doing the best they can. It's not to blast anybody, blast a committee, it's like none of that. This is to take an experience and let's learn from this experience. Future block committee, future any committee, take some of these experiences that Bujin and Umar are going to talk about, and let's just get better, right? That's the whole point, and just want to make that clear out the gate, that this is the point of us making this podcast. So we'll get into it. And after Blowout was done, as I said before, Umar was a judge, and he heard a lot of things from the team captains. I'm sure the other judges did too. The team captains seemed to have went through quite a bit when it came to just logistically working with the competition and just various things that happened through the weekend. So we got put into a group me, and a bunch of different captains that we're not going to name. Obviously, Pujin was one of them, though. Got on the group me and started just saying like what happened, right? And so, we're like, okay, so if anybody wants to come on and talk about this, we can talk about it, because something just needs to be said. Because as I said before, we want the circuit to be, as good as it possibly can be, and you can't do that if you don't learn from experiences and things like this. I promise you, if this was 2012. There would be like 45 posts on BTF of just people complaining and just like talking about their experience. But I guess the podcast is all we have today. So be it. This is where it's going to happen. So I want to start. We're just going to go through a quick timeline of of what it was like from Putin's perspective as a captain, and then Umar's perspective as a judge.
Yeah, so I got a call and was told that I got selected to judge Blowout March 11th, like about a month before the competition, give or take like a few days. And
Real quick, what was the date of the show?
April
I think it was
14th?
April 2nd.
Oh, 2nd.
Okay.
April 2nd. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So
Yeah.
you got told March 11th, and the show was April 2nd.
Yeah.
And Pujin, when did you find out who was judging?
We found out who was judge. I think it was whenever they posted it on Instagram for the public. That's when we found out.
Okay, got it.
It's not like
So here, actually, I have to pull up the email because I don't want to misquote anything. But once I got the email, I was a little confused about the whole process. So they sent us the old rubric, and it's clear for me when I was looking at this, like the circuits changed a little bit in terms of like rubric formats and like the wording of things. So I wanted to make sure that the rubric was updated, kind of up to snuff with how everybody else kind of looks at rubric nowadays. But the way they wanted to make changes was really weird. So in order to prevent like biases amongst judges, they didn't tell us who the other judges were prior to the competition. And then also they wanted the rubric changes, suggestions to be anonymous, I guess. So they asked us all to reply to the email with the rubric changes, and then they would decide what the changes to the rubric were. And then again, like the wording of the email is very vague, but it implied that we will announce the changes to you, the judges, and then also to the dancers on the pre-comp judges call, and like all at once. So like I'll find out like who the other judges are, and then what the rubric is all at the same time. And I was like, whoa, not cool. I will say, and like I do want to make sure this is clear. Like one thing that was really, I had a phone call with one of the directors, and they were very, very honest and very open about like they basically said, one of them was like basically said like, yo, listen, I was a DRP liaison the league when they won Blowout. That was the first Blowout that was a part of, and then 2 years later, and now I'm director. I understand that there's a lot of learning that I need to do and things like that. We want to make this the best show possible, and so they made a lot of changes. Like at least like they were at least from my perspective, from the judging perspective, they were fairly flexible with what they were willing to do. They After that conversation, they just like the conversation. I think like a week later, they're like, okay, we'll just like make a group chat. We'll just like let y'all talk and then figure it out. Unfortunately, because of the timing, we weren't able to get like a judges with the director's call set up in time before the pre-judges team call. So all the changes that were made were just like suggestions on WhatsApp, and it was kind of like it was really like back and forth, but like very asynchronous and things like that. So it was really it was really unorganized and like yeah. So yeah, and then I think the rubric was announced like on that call like sometime like late March. I think like the last week of March or something, like 10 days before the competition, and felt really bad. Uh it was also kind of out of our hands. Like the changes needed to be made, but also like they gave us a call 3 weeks for the competition. Like, there's not much else I could do in that sense, but, yeah, so that's kind of just, like, some basic stuff.
So I think, to not to try to put it as nicely but not lightly as possible is this is not ideal from a team's perspective to not know what the rubric or who the judges are more than 2 weeks away from the show. It's because Poojan, I don't know when you got the rubric. I mean, you don't need to go through your email rummaging for it, but just knowing that you got into the show 4 weeks prior to, you still didn't have a rubric. You know, that's obviously that you didn't get. 4 weeks away is way too. Like I would have been just hooting and hollering at the committee, be like, "Where's the rubric at? Who are the judges?" And I looked at the Instagram while you guys were talking, and March 23rd, so 2 weeks before the show, they announced who the judges were. Um, Secondly, so first, from the team's perspective, that's not ideal. I don't know how to prepare my team for whatever the rubric is and who the judges are. No matter what anybody says, the rubric dictates a lot about what is going to happen at the show. Period. I don't care who the judges are, but if the judges aren't following the rubric, that's also a problem. But the rubric should be dictating what the bias of the competition is. And at the same time, the judges are all human. They're natural personalities. People do their research about who specific judges are, and how to tailor specific moments and specific things. And I could rant, do a whole rant about that. Catering specific, even if you're trying to cater to a folk judge and you're of a modern team, just knowing that you have a folk judge on the panel changes the way that you prepare for that judge. That's just how it is. So not knowing those things just isn't good from a competitive perspective. From the judges side, not knowing who my fellow judges are, that's that long away just sounds like something archaic at this point. It sounds like something that used to happen in 2008, where they just used to show up, probably didn't even know what the rubric was, never talked to the teams before. Bujan, it also doesn't sound like did they have a call with the judges and the teams at all before
Yeah,
the
they
show, or did
did.
that happen?
They did, and it was like I think a couple days after the rubric was revealed. But yeah,
Okay,
already
at least that
we're
happened.
yeah, already we're coming into the comp late, and then there was like one rule on the rubric where it's like, we need to have 7 minutes of dancing, and it wasn't in the reg packet or communicator earlier, and that was like a big place where we were like, oh,
You
I
weren't
think a
the
lot of teams are sort of in that boat where they were like, yo, kind of,
Getting put in the packet, and
yeah,
now it's
that was, that was one thing
mhm.
that did, like, to be fairly honest, that did play a factor in the judging. We just kinda, like when it came to, like, time limit, like, we just put the same time limit they had in the other rubric. Like, I didn't really care about it too much, but, you may notice watching the videos, there were a lot of really long shares, and they also started dancing during the share so that it was, like, active dancing, like, during the share so that it counted towards the end. And I know Avi specifically called out, I think actually GT specifically, they said like, "Hey, like that share was like really long and like I didn't really like love it so much." And then we only found out after the fact, like during the judges meeting after the competition, it's like, "Oh yeah, we had to because that 7 minute thing." We're just like, "Oh
Yeah,
no,
yeah,
that's
exactly,
whack."
and
Yeah.
yeah.
I t-
I mean, again, just not to just what's the takeaway? It's right. Just prepare. Give your teams enough time to prepare. To know your judge is only 2 weeks away is not right. It's just not right. And number two, that not having a rubric more than a month away is just not right. And from the judges' side of things, we need to be able to talk about it, especially if you want us on the same page. We need to be able to talk about it, right? Just saying that, okay, you guys just make your suggestions and we'll decide what we take. Well, even if I make a suggestion, the written word is not the spoken word, right? And we need to talk about the written word so that the written word means the same thing to all of us, and that we communicate that to the teams, which is why I need to have the judges meeting with the teams more than a month and a half away from the show. So the combination of all these things is why, again, you could have given me if I was an Umer in whoever else's shoes, could have given me the rubric, but I would have been like, okay, what exactly does this mean? If you're telling me like, and especially if I read it and if I don't know exactly what it means, I'm going to ask you what it means, and I'm going to ask everybody else what it means so that we're on the same page. Because the last thing we all need is Bujin to come into a judges meeting and I say one thing because I interpreted the rubric one way, and then Umer says another thing because he interpreted the rubric another way. That's just what you don't want, and that's why we should be able to talk as judges. We should be able to talk it through with each other. Whatever conclusions we come to, that's great, and then we can write it the way we want to write it, and we're all on the same page. So, takeaway: get your judges lined up and done, as early as humanly possible. Like as early as humanly possible. I get asked to judge NDC in like November, and the show's not till mid-March, right? So for actual show day, I could read one of these quotes, and it's just, again, in this group me, I was reading this stuff, and I was just like, dang, like teams went through some stuff. And again, I told Bujin before we started recording, this is not the worst experience that someone has ever had on the Bhangra circuit. There's no chance. It's not even close. Like there are worse Bhangra experiences, but this isn't good. And for Blowout, again, we got to figure this out because you guys are the longest and the most oldest show, the collegiate championship. You guys need to be here forever, and we want you to be better. So, Bujin, if you want to talk about, if it's like show day, mixer show day, like when you were in DC, kind of at least walk us through some of the issues that you guys are running into.
Yeah. I think one of the things that was like unique. Umar was talking about this too when we saw it in the group chat. Was like liaisons were like given a very specific rule. It was a very good intention, but like they were just told to like, yo, do not leave teams unattended under any circumstance, right? And like very well-meaning rule. And then apparently some of the liaisons on other teams were taking it a little too seriously, and like some of the other teams were saying like, yo, the liaisons were like following us into the bathrooms when the bathrooms are like next door to our practice space or whatever. And, just like some of the liaisons were a lot more stickler about it than our team had to deal with. Our team was like a little annoying, but apparently other teams had to take a lot worse than we did.
Yeah, Sid. So I was talking to one of the board members, and they told me that some person in leadership specifically told the teams, like, you need to follow them into the bathroom. You need to like follow them everywhere they go. Again, probably well intentioned, but I'm not really sure where that idea came into mind. So like that wasn't something like the liaisons all just like just collectively decided to do. Like that was something they were told to do.
That just sounds like someone on board had a really bad experience with like a team or a dancer at some show sometime along the way. And they're like, don't leave the teams ever. I can't imagine honestly, I can't imagine what that experience is that they're telling them to like go into the bathroom with them. I don't even know what unattended means, to be honest with you. Because we're all here, all competition committees, we are there to dance. We're not here for anything else. All we are doing all day is preparing for your show and trying to put on the best show possible for your audience. So there is nothing else that we are doing than that. And, we will handle our team, and because I've been a captain for so long. I had plenty of idiots on my team, but we'll handle that. You don't need to worry about that. We'll follow them into the bathroom.
To kind of go off of that, and this is like a anecdote that one of the teams told me. So one of the teams was trying to get ready for the competition, and they were told they were wanted to warm up before the comp, but like I think because of COVID restrictions, they weren't allowed to be like side stage warming up, which understandable. Like there's only a certain amount of people you're allowed like backstage, side stage. So they said you can't do that. Um, so they were just gonna like, okay, let's just warm up out front in the like the lobby-ish area. Like, okay. Um, so what happened next was they asked liaisons like, hey, yo, can you like let us know like 3, 4 comp teams ahead of time so that we can go warm up? And they're like, no, whatever, et cetera, et cetera. Some a little bit further along. It is now like 1 or 2 teams before, and the captain is very insistent. Like, listen, I'm like walking out the door right now with my team. Like, we're gonna go warm up because we're about to go compete. Liaisons are like, you have not been called side stage. You have not been called backstage. You must watch the performances and sit and stay in your seats. Um, it got to the point where the liaison was took the props from the team, barricaded themselves between the team and the doors leading out into the lobby, and said, "You cannot leave." And so this team unfortunately had to dance cold, which sucks. And talking to a board member, asking like about that, I was like, "What the heck was that about?" And apparently, they were specifically told, barricade yourself in front of the door to not let any team leave the auditorium because you had to watch they were insistent upon the teams watching all the performances. But yeah, that was again, that I'll be honest, I'm not really sure where the intention was or what the idea behind that was. But listen, take away from that story. If you're a team one, you do not make the dancers watch all performances if they don't want to. Like if they get psyched out, let them do what they want to do. 2, provide some space, even if it is just like the lobby out front or like I don't know some kind of like stairwell, something where they can just kind of like hop in place or do something to kind of warm up. Provide some kind of space to warm up right before they go, like 2, 3, 4 performances ahead of time. Because dancing cold's the worst. Yeah.
I'm not going to name names, but there are other teams that I've competed against that, when told, to be forced to watch the show, they said, "We will not we do not watch the show. Like they do not watch anybody. Like this team does not watch anybody." And I remember the committee saying, "Well, you have to here," and the coach of the team was like, "We will not watch the show. Like I promise." He said to her, "I promise you." You tell me what time we need to be side stage, we will be side stage. You will have no problem. We will dance, we will perform, everything will be good. We can get ready at the hotel, we'll hang out at the hotel, we'll get warmed at the hotel. I'll drive everybody here at whatever time. You say 7:55, I'll be here 7:55. And the girl didn't know what to do. But we're all competitors here. We all need to be in our own flow, right? We all have our own ways of warming up, and especially Bhangra, like this is way too high intensive a dance to allow dancers to only like 5 minutes to warm up. So yeah, that's not good. Dude, don't do that to dancers. That ruins the show experience.
Oh, so one thing I did want to ask specifically. So we were told by some of the other teams that they were specifically asked like, "Hey, we need a full video of your routine 3 to 4 weeks ahead of time, and any day it was late, it was a $20 late fee." Um, why? What was that all about?
So I believe in the reg packet, they were saying that was in the event that the comp went virtual. And,
Mhm.
I get it. In that case, you need a video. Not really sure why you need a video 1 month in advance. Like a lot can change to your set in 1 month, as we all know. I think our team really just ended up like, we just took one of our old performances and just submitted it. Like, we're not going to rush and make a new video for this deadline. And we just prayed it didn't go virtual. And thankfully it didn't. But it's like a good idea. But it's like, why do we need to do that like a month in advance? So, not really sure the timing wise, but
And Buddha, can you speak to there's one piece of all of this that we haven't touched upon yet, is the pictures, the requirement of
yeah.
pictures or something. Can you expand on
Yeah.
that?
I think first of all, like kind of related to the pictures, just like in general scheduling on Saturday, like tech time itself ended pretty late. Like I think our team got out of like the stage rehearsal tech time part. I think we were done with that at like 3:30 p.m., which is like
What was your where were
I
you in the
was
show order?
seventh, so second to last in the order.
Ugh,
And like it
goodness.
would make sense like if it's like a 16 team fusion Bhangra comp, like maybe it would make sense. But like
Mhm.
we have 8 teams, 2 exhibitions, like at that point it's just like, like do we really need to drag it out this long? Like could we not just push everything up a little bit? That
Mhm.
was like the first weird thing. Like tech time ran super late for 8 teams, 2 exhibitions. But after that, it was like at 6 p.m. They were telling us like, hey, we have this like team pictures going on, and then it's gonna be like a mini team social where you go and like talk to other teams, and like,
So so basically what they were telling you to do was that at 6:10 they wanted you fully ready, bugs tied, everything ready to go so
mm,
that you could take this photo at 6:10 and then go and sit in the audience for the entire show for
yeah,
did they give you a reason why the picture was necessary?
no, I mean, it's always like, oh, we need to take team picture. I don't remember the last time our team has made a team picture that these comps require. Like, I'll be honest, I don't remember, and when we do make it, I don't even know where they get posted. So, yeah,
That's
yeah,
fair. Like where are these team pictures? You're right. You're
like
right.
it's in like one Facebook group, like hidden away, like nobody's gonna see it anyways. Like, but yeah, it was originally like everybody needs to be ready, all the bugs done, and we're like logistically, that's not gonna work out. Like, this is my first year learning how to time anyway, so I'm a little rusty, still learning the ropes. So,
Mhm.
and it's just like we were going back and forth.
Yeah. I like for so for any comps out there, maybe not who haven't danced Bhangra competitively or haven't been to many competitions. It takes about 15 minutes to tie bug. Like if you're good, like if you're like really solid and like got that shit smacked like pat down, like yeah, it takes about 15 minutes to tie bug. Um, it can be, and realistically, you're going to retie like 2, 3, 4 bugs, like depending on how many bugs you're going to tie. Like it takes a long time, and so, and that's just like one piece. Then you gotta tie the foam on, you gotta do all that, pinning everything. It takes a long time to get one dancer ready. So realistically, if your team is out at 3:30 and you tell them, okay, you have 3 hours right after you just danced to eat lunch, go back and forth from the hotel, come back, tie all the bugs, and it's like it's not feasible. And also, it's just a picture. It's not that deep. Like first and foremost, is your comp going to make or break its social media presence if that team is not there? You have the video. You can like get pictures side stage, on stage, things like that. This probably looks way cooler than like a pose, like you know. But point being, competitions fuck your pictures. All right. It's like, it's not that big deep. And if you really need it, just like get them side stage and be like, cheese them right before they get on. Like, if that's what you really, but work with the teams. Like, please, like, just like listen to teams, listen to what they want.
Yeah, I'll say this. I'm not going to say screw your pictures because if you really want your pictures, then I think that you need to build in enough time for the teams to get ready to be able to take their pictures and then be ready to deal with whichever team is going to be like, listen, we're going last in the show. We're not going to be ready at 5 o'clock or whatever it is, right? You got to be ready to just deal with that.
One thing that was brought up that was definitely even like played probably a really big part in judging deliberations was the backdrop. What exactly were you told? When exactly were you told about all these details about the backdrop? And who told you?
If I remember, backdrop was like every comp does this, where it's like they have this like $15,000 screen, and I'm just like, what? Can you just move it a little bit further back, and then we'd be chilling? But whatever. I mean, like, but
Yeah, yeah.
they told us, I believe, at the cat they had like captain's meeting after Mixer, where they usually give us the schedule
Mhm,
and stuff.
mhm.
But I think it was then where they're like, yo, really make sure that your team doesn't touch the backdrop, or make sure they really don't do that. They really emphasize it there, where it's like, okay, yeah. And, that's not like the first comp to do this. And they at Nashville, our team went there and they had similar rules there. But it was like at the
Mhm.
captain's meeting on Friday, they told us about it. And, you know, so some teams, I don't think my team had much of an issue with it. Other teams obviously did. But, yeah.
So one thing that we were like some of the teams told us was that uh the clarity and about what was going to happen to them as a team if they had the backdrop was very unclear. At first they were just kind of saying like kind of what you told me, what you just said was like just don't hit it, please, please, please don't hit it. It's very expensive. And then at one point, uh, one team was berated during their tech time and by somebody on leadership saying like screaming at them for like 4 minutes saying like do not touch the backdrop, we're going to fine you $30,000. And I think that like $30,000 number kind of spread to like everybody else because every single every single team that came in was just like, hey, so I know we hit this backdrop, judges, can you like help us get out of this fine? And I was like, I don't know what to tell you, I'm so sorry. um that's super stressful. I get it. Like it's a very
Yeah.
expensive thing and things like that. But like, I don't know. They also didn't really tell us what was going on with the backdrop in terms of judging. Like they just kind of told us like, hey, just letting you know this is big backdrop thing. We need you to take off points. Um, and we kind of decided at the judges meeting after talking to them that we'll just take off 3. But that's one thing. Also, you mentioned that after the teams, after the mixer, there was some issues with getting your schedules for the next
Yeah.
day. Apparently, like y'all only got your schedules like 2 a.m. after y'all complained saying like, "Hi, we all don't want to show up at 6 a.m. Can you
Oh
just
my
give us our
God. Yeah.
schedules?"
Unlocked a hidden
Yeah,
memory right
like
there.
if you want to,
Yeah.
yeah,
So suppress
yeah,
that a
go
little
for
bit.
it. Explain, yeah.
Yeah. Originally for tech time, they're like, it was really weird because they're like, hey, all teams need to be at like the practice center at like, there's like one building right next to the venue where all the dressing rooms were. It was literally right across the street. But they're like, all teams need to
Mm.
be there at 9:30 a.m. And we're just like, especially the teams later at tech time, and we're like, why are we showing up 9:30 just to like sit in the dressing room 4 hours, 3 hours? Like, and we all told him that. I think I was the first one who was like, I think the rule's a little, I think you should give it a little bit more leniency for the later teams. But that was like the first weird rule that they said at the meeting. And like we were all just sort of like, yeah, did we hear you right? Like, we all gotta be there at 9:30, even if we're like 8th in show order. And then, eventually they changed that and then they sent out the schedule really late because of that. I don't know if it was like as late as 2
They
a.m., but it was
so
pretty late.
I did want to go over some weirdness with the rules for judging too. So like I said, the whole thing, but eventually they kind of backed down and said like, okay, it's fine, it's okay, we can just like whatever, however you want to adjust the rubric and things like that. I think it was very apparent, at least from my perspective, that they were very caught up in like how blowout has been done in the past, what the rules were in the past, and therefore like that is what it's going to be. Like it's been done this way for a long time, so therefore we're going to continue to do it this way. Um, Sid, I think I don't know if like I know you judged blowout a few times in the past, and I don't know how you even remotely dealt with like a lot of this stuff because like there's like these very complicated rules about like swapping teams and placings and things like that. They wanted all right, so let's start with they were very weirdly like we want you all to do paper judging and they will all you want write it down. I said no. It got to a point where like they were so adamant about paper judging. I was like, I'll just drop out right now, man. I haven't booked my ticket yet. Like it's fine. Like I will just drop out. They came back to me the next day and were like, okay, fine. You can judge with your computer. Um And it was like weird things like that just constantly throughout where they were just like, we need you to follow exactly what this rule book says. And because apparently this is always the way it was done, which I was like, false. I know Sid never judges with paper. Well, I was like, there's no way he's ever done that. And there's no way Ankush was doing that. Like, there's no way Ankush was following any of these rules. He's just gonna like yell at you and tell you shut the fuck up.
I,
Yeah.
I will say this just to back up a
Yeah.
second. There were no rules for us. It
Oh.
was how should we structure the rubric? You guys tell us based on what
hmm
what we want the rubric to look like, and then you guys write it out and make the point. So they give us the freedom to do that. And we also had the freedom to decide what the movement and swaps would look like.
Mhm.
We all decided you can't move more than one placing, I think.
Mhm.
I mean, I've never been a part of a panel where I could move someone from like 1 to 4 or something
Mhm.
ridiculous like
Yeah.
that. Um, uh, there was nothing, there was never a moment where I mean, like there were problems with other blowouts, and that's fine.
Mhm.
Um, Nothing like this though. Nothing like with this whole you have to write it on hand. You have to, do this or do that. Like it was very much you guys are the judges. We're bringing you here for a reason. Tell us what we need to do so you guys can judge this right.
Yeah, and I think end of the day, like, again, I wanna give, like, Blowout credit. End of the day, like, they did acquiesce to, like, me bitching. Um, but, like, it was annoying because they're like, "No, like, this whole swapping things." But, again, a lot of rules of judging, a lot of things like that that were really annoying, and, like, listen, takeaway, comps, you are bringing on teams. So you're bringing on judges. They've danced for a long time. They know what they're doing. They've probably, especially for Blowout, like they've judged before. This isn't their first time. They know what they're doing. Let them judge the way they want to judge. Obviously, like maybe just have a person in a room to just kind of like make sure no shenanigans, no karkutia are happening. But like other than that, like let them do their job. Like that's what you brought them in for. So yeah. Also pay for their hotel
Did
and pay for their travel. Like that's like bare minimum.
did Blowout not do
They
that?
at first they didn't. And then we're just like, "You're paying for this, right?" And they're just like, "Oh, we didn't think about that. Let me go back." And then like, "Okay, yeah, we'll pay for it." But like that was like a thing. That was my first thing. I was like, this isn't there are any issues. But yeah.
And I think that it's just I don't know. We said everything. I mean, in the BTF Facebook group, whoever proves that anymore, there's a whole list. There's a whole thread of it's in the files of like how to run a competition. Read that through. Multiple people have contributed to that, and I'm sure more. I encourage anybody listening to this, if you go read that, contribute to that yourself as well. To add in something that you think that would help a competition be better. And then competitions, there's your manual almost, right, of just what to do and how to do it. And just follow that. And you're going to throw at least a show that teams want to come back to. And because it doesn't sound like, based on this group me, that we're reading through these messages, no one seemed to want to come back, except for the fact that it's a collegiate championship. And I don't think Blowout needs to do any rebranding or anything like that. It's just get it together for next year. Just write some standard operating procedures. Reach out to old Blowout chairs. 2016, 2017, in my opinion, were great. I can't speak for anything after that. But if you want to reach out to them, reach out to them. Read that thing in BTF, and you'll know what to do. You will know what to do. And if you still don't, I don't know, just reach out to other older folks on the circuit, people in your area to help you, like just get some mentorship. Like, we want you to have a great show too. All the judges want you to have a great show. The teams want you to have a great show. Everybody wants the show to be sold out. Everybody wants all the teams to do really well. Like everybody wants the best, right? But if it's just going to be this, like, well, you have to do this, you have to do that, it's just not going to, you're not going to get the ball rolling in the right direction. So that's the end of my rant.
Um
No
thank you,
problem.
Bujin, for coming on.
I appreciate it. I just think
But
that, at the end of the day, it was our team's first year at Blowout this year, and then it's still a great time. I mean,
Mhm.
I think it's our first year, so we're always going to look back on it a little bit fondly. But, I think in general, any other
Yeah.
team in my position, just hope they can have a better first time, better 15th time, doesn't matter. Like, we should all just strive for a better experience as a whole.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Bhangra Podcast. Subscribe to us wherever you listen to podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, wherever it is. It'll make Umar happy. Other thing that'll make Umar happy is if you give us a like and a comment, wherever you can like and comment. Honestly, don't know where you go and like and comment
YouTube,
podcasts
but yes.
on YouTube. I'm sorry. on YouTube. Go ahead and hit the
Yeah,
like button on
yeah,
YouTube for
yeah.
Umer and make him super happy. Also, join the Discord. Umer's always dropping stuff early in the Discord, dropping memes in the Discord, dropping extra videos in the Discord. If you join the Discord, you see it first. And there's also some pretty juicy conversations that end up happening in the Discord. It seems to be where a lot of the chatter is in the Bhangra community from a community perspective and not just a one-on-one Instagram perspective. So do join the Discord. And with that, that's all we got.
Cool.